The title of my talk this morning is Keeping an Open Mind. You know, oftentimes we equate the phrase keeping an open mind with the other one, giving the benefit of the doubt. Now, keeping an open mind and allowing for the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt, doesn't that sound positive and inspiring, to give somebody the benefit of the doubt? We're obviously coming from a place immediately of not so open a mind. Part of the problem we have with that idea is that most of us, including myself of course, don't really know what it is to experience an open mind. What we picture as an open mind is as though we are watching a play and it's standing room only up here, and we've held one seat available for the new person, the stranger. And we call that keeping an open mind. I'll give you this much room in my mind, because all this other stuff is going on. Every thought we ever had in the past, every thought we're having in the present, every thought we're having about the future, every feeling that we had from the past, every experience that we've ever had, they're all still there. They're there, working, talking, acting, mainly judging. And when I say this, I don't necessarily mean this in a bad way. I mean discerning. Trying to decide, does this work? Does this fit? Do I need this? Is this important? This is going on all the time. And our minds aren't really open. They're full all the time. Thoughts, feelings, and remembrances. Always. There was a time when we had an open mind. It was right after we were hit on the rear. And here he is, he's a boy. Here she is, she's a girl. That was an open mind. That was everything is new, everything is different, everything is impressive, making an impression. But somewhere along the line, even by the age of 2 or 3 years old, we think we've got it figured out. Oh, I know how this world works. Oh, I know how my family works. I know how our house works. And then it just extends out from there as time goes. Oh, I know how my school works. I know how my town works. I understand how the city works. I understand how the United States works. I understand how the hemisphere works. And we just extend on out from there. I know how my job works. All this. And our mind is filled with the knowing of life. Very, very little of it is the not knowing of life. Much of it is just the knowing of life. And actually, in a lot of ways, this makes us feel very, very secure. But to have an open mind is also to have a cleared mind, to allow all this other stuff to be set aside. To set it aside. And you know, our way Lord Jesus was talking about that very thing. He talked about clearing your house and getting in order and sweeping it clean. But then he goes on to say that the one who does this sweeps clean his house. This is your house. Sweep clean your house. And once it's clean, it says that that spirit which you expelled from it, that dark spirit, let's call it, goes out into the desert lands and finds 7 more spirits even worse than it was and comes back to you. Basically, that's what he's saying. And he says that your condition will be worse then than it was before. What he's talking about is that when we get this mind where we think we are cleaned, where we put it aside, what we've done is we have shoved aside the darkness, shoved aside the negativity, and we say to ourselves, from this day forward, I'm going to be positive. I'm no longer going to be thinking the way I did before when I was thinking about, and then we give a label to it. When I was thinking about Aunt Paula, when I was thinking about Uncle George, when I was thinking about Miss Carver in my 3rd grade class that I didn't like, whatever it might be. We immediately attach something to it, and as we attach this attachment once again to it, pop, there it is again. And it's even worse because now we have to go along with that pride and arrogance. Because I am now in a more positive place about that person that I didn't like or that situation that I didn't like. And we think that we're in a better place, and we add arrogance, ego, pride, all these things to it. And we're actually in a worse case than we first word. And that's what our elder teacher Jesus was talking about. It can also be that we crowd out God. You know, that's ego, edging God out. That often happens in our lives. We just edge it out, and we get ourselves in a situation where we think we know what our highest good is for ourselves. We lay out a map and a plan for life, and it must go this way in order for me to be happy and for me to be successful. That's what we tell ourselves. I've got it all figured out. This is my plan, and it must be this way. This is where divine order comes in. So what if it doesn't go that way? Is something wrong? Or do we say to ourselves, I need to adjust my thinking and feeling to fit the situation as it is. To fit the world as it is. That's what I had to do this morning. I had to adjust to fit what was in order to get the benefit out of what is right now. I once had a friend. It's funny how God talks to you. I had a friend who was a friend of mine in Nashville. He was a songwriter, and pretty much of just kind of a floating kind of spirit. You know, in a lot of ways he was so enjoyable to be around because he was always so positive and everything. The problem, though, was that he had a family. He had a wife and a small child, and he was more interested in things like, it's a beautiful day out. I think I'll go hunting, or I'll go play golf, or and he would do things thinking that he was being a free spirit. Well, there were groceries to put on the table. There was rent due, and so forth. And he was, rather than working to make sure that his family was taken care of, he was doing these other things. And I, being his friend, oftentimes would say to him, it's great that you have such a free spirit, and it's wonderful that you are so open and positive about life. But don't you think you need to grow up a little bit? And he would say, yes, yeah, you're probably right, and then continue on doing the same thing over and over. So one day he came to me, and he said, can you loan me some money? The rent's due, and I don't have any money to pay the rent. And I remembered that he'd just been playing golf that week, and had just gone fishing that week, and had taken his boat out and bought gas for it and so forth. And I thought, so you're using your money for you to have a good time, and now you want me to use my money to pay your bills. And I told him, I think I'm going to have to pray about that first. My prayer went something like this: God, what should I do about this stupid guy? You know, that's the way it started. What do you think is the best thing for me to do? Because I'm really tired of this about him, and I don't feel it's right. And there was a lot of resentment in my prayer. And I waited and I listened. And this is really the voice I heard. You're not helping him. You're helping his wife and his daughter. You're helping keep a roof over their head. They're just as much a part of your life as anyone else is. So I heeded that voice, and it kind of knocked me down a couple of notches and made me realize what was really important. Put me back into a place of love. And so when he came over, I said, sure, and I loaned him the $200 or whatever it was. This is a long time ago. $200 for the rent doesn't seem like a lot, but it was. And I loaned him the money, and I had to loan it to him with the attitude. I realized I had to loan it to him with the attitude that it's a loan that if I never get it back, not to hold any resentment over it. Be ready to make this a gift if I never receive it back. He was very thankful and grateful and everything, and he went. And he paid it. Then he came to me a few weeks later and gave me $300. I said, what's this for? And he said, this is interest and other things on things you've helped me out with before. I want to pay back that loan. I said, well, that's great, but where did the money come from? He said, the other day when I was out fishing, this song came to me. And I wrote this song, and now it's being recorded by Ricky Skaggs, if any of you know who Ricky is. Ricky Skaggs is recording this song of mine. And it was a song called I Wonder Who's Holding My Baby Tonight. It was a beautiful song, nice little waltzy ballad. Just a beautiful song. He made lots of money in that song. And I learned a big lesson. I learned a huge lesson about giving from the heart and not holding on to resentments or any of those other things. Learning to open my mind a little bit and allow God to speak to me, and then allowing God to act through me. I learned that story. I'm sure all of you have stories just like that. If you have been in a situation where you just opened yourself and said, I don't know what good is, but you do, God. You know what good is, and you know how good can be expressed. You have so many different ways of doing it. One more story. During that same summer that this occurred, I used to own an old 1953 Ford pickup truck. It was an automatic. Not many pickup trucks in 1953 were automatic pickup trucks. And it was also a 6-volt system. If any of you understand that now cars operate on 12-volt systems. One day, it was raining very hard. I went out there and I turned on my truck to go someplace, and I turned on the windshield wipers, and suddenly all this white smoke came out from under the dash, and everything quit. I thought, oh boy, no wipers, can't go anywhere. Went back in the house, drenched in rain, felt once again in that same not so good space, resentment on rain. I resented rain at that moment, and resented wires, and resented Henry Ford himself, resented everything. A little voice said to me, why don't you pray? So I did. I prayed and I said, the same kind of prayer. Okay, God, nothing's going right. What am I supposed to do about this one this time? What should I be doing? A voice said to me, it was like this. These exact words. Why don't you get off your butt and go over to Kmart and return those Venetian blinds you bought that were the wrong size? Huh? What a non sequitur. None of it made any sense. The answer I got. Now you might be thinking, this is just my voice speaking to me. That's what I thought. But I listened and I thought, okay, so I went and I dug out these blinds and I walked outside just as the clouds were parting and clearing. I didn't need the wipers anymore. Put them in the truck, drove over to Kmart, took them inside, and when I came back out, after making the return, after I came back, I noticed that there was a guy leaning up with his foot on the bumper of the truck writing a note. My immediate thought was, oh great, he hit my truck or something, and he's leaving. At least he's there and he's leaving a note, but now what have I got to deal with? As I got closer, the guy turned and saw me and he said, hey, is this your truck? I said, yeah. And he said, oh, I was just leaving my name and address for you. I've got a whole barn full of parts for this truck. If you ever need any parts, just let me know. I'll be glad to help you out with it. So these hard-to-come-by parts, this was 1978, and I had a 1953 antique automobile. This guy was offering me, by the way, never charged me a dime for any of the parts I ever needed for that truck. He was just that kind of guy. He was just a nice guy. So you never know. You just never know. You have to keep an open mind and listen to the still small voice and do what it says, no matter how ridiculous it might appear. Keeping an open mind. It's not always an easy thing to do unless you take these steps. Clear your mind and create an open mind. That's what it requires. This can only be done through prayer and forgiveness. As to if we are going to create an open mind and make space in our minds, we have to learn to let go of resentments, let go of things we think have harmed us, let go of the darkness that we hang on to that we think is so special just for us, and allow God to do what God does in all his mysterious ways. So do that. Create an open mind and keep it. Keep it because it's very important. Your highest good awaits you when you make the space for it. God bless.